Hey everybody, and welcome to another Cricut craft tutorial. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays with the occasional bonus live video. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to assemble a fun 3D mandala, and this one is obviously the big man himself, Mr. Santa Claus. This is one that I got from Design Bundles, and I'll link him below. It came with a whole set. There's 2 different elves, a reindeer, Santa, such a cute little set and such a great price, so definitely pick these up. But I will say they do take a while to cut, and I'm going to show you guys some real quick tips and tricks to cutting these guys out and making sure that you have a good quality cut when you do these. And I'm going to show you guys how to assemble with some dollar store products, because you don't need to spend a lot of money on glues and tapes and things for these, because you can definitely use some really inexpensive stuff to make them look very, very professional. I used All Paper by Recollections brand, and I did use some of their really fun shiny paper. This was a lot of fun to do, and I can't wait to make more of these. So let's go ahead over to the computer, and I'm going to show you how to download these, how to extract them, and then how to set it up in Design Space. I got this from designbundles.com. I will link it down below, but what you'll do is once you've purchased, you can just go into your purchases and find your character bundle. Now, the nice thing is you don't have to download it right away, so if you purchase from your phone or from another computer, that's totally okay. You can download it anytime, and you can download it multiple times, which is great. So what I'm going to do is click Download Files, and it's going to pull up this little drop-down menu, and it's just going to tell you to click on the file names to download. So this is a full bundle, so we're going to click that. It is going to open up a folder selector and ask me where I want to save it. I'm going to save it to my Cricut folder and then into my Christmas folder. I'm going to click on Save, and it's going to download. Once it is downloaded, you can go ahead and open up that folder, and we're going to need to extract the files. Now, this one has kind of a lot of random files. So it has ones for all the layers and then separate layers. I'm not really sure why you would want to download the separate layers ones, because you're going to have to put each layer into Design Space individually. So I just use this one because it's all layers, all single ones. So it's super easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract all. So it's at the top of my screen. So click Extract All, then click Browse, and then I want to save it into my Christmas folder. So I select that folder and then click Extract. It's going to take a minute because there are a lot of items in this folder, and usually what I'll do is I'll just go through and delete what I don't want eventually, but I'm just going to let it download them all. It's totally fine. So what we're going to do is use our Santa All layers, and you'll notice that on my computer it doesn't look like there's an SVG file. That SVG file is actually this Microsoft Edge HTML document. I have not switched this computer to show these as Inkscape files yet, so just so you know, if your computer is showing that as well, that is actually your SVG document. Super easy. You just have to kind of remember that it might show as a Chrome document. The Microsoft Edge could be Internet Explorer, Safari, lots of those internet browsers, but it may open up as that. So let's go over to Design Space so I can show you how to upload. Now that we're over in Design Space, we are going to click Upload Image and then click Browse. We're going to find our unzipped Santa All layers. He's right here. And we're going to select the Microsoft Edge or the HTML document or the SVG document. They're all the same. And you'll see that it might take a second, but it will pull up your Santa Claus. Super easy to do. Go ahead and click Save. It may take a moment to save him because he has several layers. But we're going to kind of reduce his layers a little bit, and I'm going to show you a couple things that we don't actually need for this Santa Claus. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is insert the image by selecting him and clicking Insert Image. Once he's loaded, we are going to kind of mess with his layers a little bit because there's some extra layers that we really honestly don't need. So for my own sanity, I like to kind of get rid of them because it's going to save you a little bit of time. So the first thing that we need to do is click the word Ungroup, which is up here in the upper right-hand side. Now, all of your layers should pull apart into the different sections. So you're going to see you have lots and lots of different layers to Santa Claus. There are a ton of layers. He's like 14 layers, but we're not going to cut all 14 of these. So you can see once we kind of get, I'm going to move these guys over because these layers we are going to cut. But once you get down to the black layers, there's a couple of them, and I found some of them a little bit
redundant because you're not really going to see these smaller circles at all unless you used a really bright color. So what I did was I just went ahead and completely deleted that layer. I don't need it. I don't really want it. And then you have this little piece. That's his buckle. You do need that. But you see on this tan colored one, he has an extra piece of the buckle. The black piece completely covers it up, so you don't even need it. So you can go ahead over to the layers tab here on the right, and do you see this little eyeball? If you click that, it will hide that so it won't cut that extra piece. That piece really is not needed, and it just made it such a pain to try to have extra pieces. So I got rid of some of the stuff I didn't need. Now I'm going to change this guy's color a little bit because he's almost black, but he's actually not. So I'm going to make him a little bit of a darker gray. That way you can see him a little bit better. I made him like a really nice charcoal gray. And what I like is that this does layer them in the order that they go on Santa Claus. So it's really easy to kind of figure out how your Santa Claus is going to line up. But you're going to need a lot of different colors. You're going to need 11 colors to do this. And you can do this any way that you want to, any kind of colors, whatever really makes you happy and works for you is perfectly fine. You don't have to do him in reds and grays. You can do him any way that you want to. But what I like to do is I kind of take a look at him again and I just relayer him a little bit just so I can make sure that I do have all of my layers that I need. And then this gold one comes next, then the tan, and then finally the black. Now his eyes are going to cut out separately. These will be a separate piece, and as will his belt buckle. So you're going to want to make sure that you keep track of those little tiny eyes and his belt buckle because those are really small pieces. So just make sure you're aware of that. So now what we can do is just click make it, but we can resize him as well. You can make him as big as you want. My paper is 8.5 by 11, so I'm going to make him as big as I can, and that is way too big. I can make him, I believe, about there was a good size. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is click make it. This is a pretty important step, and I actually found this really easy because they break it down by all the different colors, and it tells you how many of each sheet you're going to need. Now, because we're cutting this on 8.5 by 11 paper, you can change your material size, but you really don't need to. But what I will recommend is checking these black layers just to make sure that this belt buckle isn't going to cut in a weird spot and not cut on the paper. So it always wants to put it towards the right side. So you can just grab it on your mat and just move it over so that it's in the space of your 8.5 by 11 paper. Really easy to do, but this will show you all of the different colors that you need. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and select the first one again, and I'm going to go ahead and click continue. Now what we're going to do is find the correct cut setting. So we're going to need to browse all materials and just scroll down to cardstock. Your first cardstock setting is for intricate cuts, and I'm going to show you something really quick. So if you go to your material settings, you can scroll down and it's all alphabetical, so we can find cardstock for intricate cuts right here. And it's going to show you the pressure, which is 182, and it's going to do a double cut, which is great. That's what we need. We don't want it to cut really deep on our first cut because it tends to rip the paper. So go ahead and just exit that. You don't actually need it, but we're going to go ahead, browse all materials, and we're going to use the cardstock for intricate cuts. Go ahead and click done. I'm going to show you another quick trick I use to help myself keep organized when I'm cutting something with so many layers. So we're going to lay out all of our paper in order of what it's going to cut. So it's starting with the darkest gray, which is actually technically not the darkest gray because we're going to use this charcoal color where that really, really dark one was. So what I think the darkest gray I'm going to use is going to be this one here. These are just from Michaels. They're the Recollections brand. So we'll use that one. Then it goes to like the medium shade gray, which I think for that we'll use this gray. And then it goes to the lightest gray, or you could use white, but I'm going to use gray. I'm going to use this one, I think, although those are awful close. So maybe we will use white. I think maybe we will use white because that gray was a little bit close, and I did bring down some white sheets, and I thought white would work. So we can absolutely do that. You can kind of use whatever colors you want, but I think the white will really stand out nicely. Yes, I think that will work. So it's going to go I'm layering them this way right now, but I'll flip it over to put them together. So then the next one it does, and I'm going to go over to the machine and look here, or the computer. The next one is 2 sheets of pure black. So I've got black and black. Oops, I got too many sheets of black. I got a couple sheets of black. Actually, I've got this sheet of black as well, and I actually think I like that black better. I'll do that. I'll do it that way. 2 different blacks here. The next layer is going to be that dark charcoal, which is going to be this one. Then we go from the darkest red to the lightest red. So I brought a bunch of different reds so I could kind of see what they all looked like together. So I have a couple different shades of red. These are the same here, but I do have this red as well. So it goes from the darkest red to the lightest. So we'll just go ahead and do this and this, followed by that one. Then next we get into the tans. And I actually wanted to do this tan for the tan part, and then I have this really cool foil. And I thought we could maybe replace one of the reds with the foil, and we'll do the top, that goldy yellowy color. I thought we could do that one with some of the foil cardstock, just to add just a little bit of sparkle. This is such pretty stuff. Again, this is from Michaels. It is Recollections, and look how, can you see how shiny that is? It's really pretty. So I think we'll do one of his pieces, we'll do one of his pieces in this gold. And then I'm going to do whatever piece is the main part of his suit in this red. So I think I need to just double check and see which one is the main part of his suit. It looks like our lightest red will probably be the best one to replace this with, just because you see more of it. So I'm going to go ahead and do the lightest red, I think. I just want to look at it kind of against all the other reds and just see which one is going to give me the most visibility, and really it's going to be the lightest because that's our top layer. So that's all of our all of our paper all right in order. So then what I do is I just flip it back this way because that's the way it is ordered on our sheet. And I'm going to move all of my extra paper over to the side. We're ready to load the cardstock onto our mat, so we're just going to go ahead and use the blue mat. And you want to make sure that your mat is relatively sticky because you need this to stay stuck down really, really well. So make sure it's well pressed down. I'm going to move my star wheels. I moved them the other day to do some engraving, so I'm going to go ahead and move these back. These are a great way to help your cardstock stay on the mat. Go ahead and click load. Make sure your fine point blade is loaded, and you can do this with any of your Cricut machines, including the Joy. We'll go ahead and hit go, and I'll let you guys watch it cut. So before we move on to cutting our other items, and I'll cut those ones in a quicker succession, I just want to show you a quick trick to taking these off the mat because they are kind of hard to get off. What I want you to do is flip your mat over, and you're going to roll it. See how I'm kind of rolling it? But you don't want to bend it. You just want to roll it a little bit, and you'll see that he kind of just comes off. And you'll see that all the little spots are cut out. You just want to gently roll it off, and as you go, he's going to fall off. And any of the little pieces that kind of stayed stuck on, you can absolutely just peel off when you're done getting him off, but he's like your main concern. So you want to just be very, very careful with him. If your edges aren't coming off, that's okay. Make sure all of Santa comes off, and then you can go in and take off the edges a little easier. And then any of these little spots that stayed stuck down, you can either peel with your nail or get out your scraper or your pin pen, because this one is real stuck. You can even use a pair of scissors, anything with an edge to it, because I don't really have nails, obviously. This is a really sticky mat, which is a good thing, but sometimes these little pieces can get really stuck. So I just like to kind of poke them off, and then they usually will just fall right off after that. So now what you'll need to do is load your other colors. Like I said, I will speed all the cutting up for you guys and the loading of the mats, and then you can watch everything cut. Now that we've cut everything out, it is time to assemble our Santa. So I'm just using some foam tape that I got at the Dollar Tree. You can find this in their craft section. It was also, they had some in their home goods section as well. And all I'm doing is trimming this down into manageable sizes and placing it throughout on the Santa Claus in places that kind of hang over. As you go, you're going to need to use smaller and smaller pieces, and you'll want to make sure that you place the pieces where there aren't any holes. So that first one that I placed on his foot was too low, so I just moved it. It's no big deal. It is double-sided. Both sides are sticky, and it's really, really good for kind of giving some space. But you just want to make sure that you're paying attention to where you have any open spaces on your Santa. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up until we get to the next step of adhesive. Now that we've reached the much skinnier sections, I don't like to use the foam tape, and I feel like it's only 3 little sections, so I use a Zig pen, and it's a really thin glue pen, and it works really, really well, especially on these little small pieces. So what I do is I'm going to put a little piece of paper down just for this little part, and I just run the glue pen along the edges. I'm going to go ahead and do his belt buckle right now, just because I can put it on the layer and just be done with it, and it's fine, no big deal. So we're going to put his belt buckle on our gold layer. Now, when you're laying this, you just want to make sure you kind of get it lined up in the center. It's really easy. And the nice thing is that glue is really forgiving, so you can slide things around a little bit as you go. It does dry really quickly though, and it is clear, which is great. It's a kind of a blue tint to it when you are putting it on, but it's super easy, really simple to do. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is place some glue onto his feet, because I want to line him up the best way I can. And I totally missed a little piece when I took him off of the cardstock mat there. So it's fine. You can just pull that little extra piece out. But what I'm going to do is put some glue on the bottom of his feet, because that's an easy place to make sure that he's really well lined up. So you just need to run a little bead of that glue just down there. You don't need a ton, which is another great thing about the Zig pen. It doesn't take a lot of glue. I will link the Zig pen down below for you guys. It was really one of my favorite things that I found this past winter as far as gluing cardstock. It doesn't get it all wet, and it doesn't really mess it up. So what we're going to do is do that to the tan layer, the gold layer, and the black layer. And then I'm going to show you guys how to apply his eyes in a really simple way. Now it's time to apply his eyes. I'm just going to use some tweezers from iVine. These are awesome. They're silicone coated on the bottom, and it just makes it really easy to hold. And they have a tip on this end that is bent, so it's a little bit easier to hold the cardstock in them and then apply the glue. So what I do is I hold the eyeball on with the tweezers, and I just dab some glue on to the cardstock. Then I just place the cardstock eye where I want it and hold it down with my finger as I take the tweezers away. It's just a really easy way to apply these really small details, and that way you're not really struggling and getting glue all over your fingers and then it sticks to the wrong side. I am a big struggler with little pieces of cardstock. And now, last but not least, we get to put the top 3 layers onto our bottom layers, the reds and the grays. So I just put a lot of glue over on the ball of the hat. I find that to be a really easy place to layer when I'm doing the top part onto the bottom. So you just pick wherever is comfortable for you to add just a little bit of glue. And as you go around, once you get everything lined up, you'll add glue to all the different edges. I find it just easiest to add to just a little piece of it, allow that to dry for a moment or two, and then go around and add more glue to his mittens, his legs, and things like that that might kind of flop around if you're putting him up to display. So I just like to make sure he's well lined up, and then I let that sit for just a moment, and that way I've got some glue up at the top. And then what I'll do is I'm going to, again, just take my little glue pen, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue all along the edge of his mittens. That's why I love this little glue pen. It's just as simple as tracing around the edges. And again, it dries super quickly. It's really easy to use. It is a no mess kind of product. And this video is not sponsored by ZigPen, but oh my gosh, I absolutely love them. Again, we'll link it below. Super helpful tool. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish getting them all glued up, and I'll show you the finished product. I am so excited how cute he turned out. And I love that foil paper. It really adds that extra little bit of pizzazz that I love in a Christmas decoration. Now these are great because you can use them for lots and lots of different things. People use them for ornaments because with so many layers of cardstock, they are fairly rigid. They look great in shadow boxes. They look awesome just by themselves. They look great if you wanted to glue them to a piece of wood. Now he's just leaning on that piece of wood, but if I were to do it, I would get a little bit bigger frame, center him, and I think he would look absolutely fantastic. The possibilities with these guys really are endless with what you can do with them. They would be really cute hanging in a window. If you are somebody who has a desk at work, they would be really fun to decorate your desk. And they also make really fun gifts for somebody. If you're going over to their home, you can definitely turn them into a really beautiful gift. If you guys have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm always happy to answer those for you. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays. I hope you guys had a wonderful time learning how to make this 3D mandala Christmas Santa Claus. I had a great time putting him together. Have a wonderful day and happy crafting.